On this episode of Street Rag Garage, we buy a low buck C-10 with a big block Chevy to go budget racing. And then we blow it up before we can do any of that.
I looked on Facebook Marketplace for a week, maybe 2 weeks. I wanted a new project and I wanted it to be an older truck. So I stumbled across this square body C-10 truck. The guy said it had a 454 in it, so that's not something you see every day. Half-ton truck with a big block motor in it. Obviously somebody put that in there. So I did something that I normally don't do and I don't recommend anybody doing. I went ahead and just bought it sight unseen. I PayPal'd the guy the money and made arrangements to go pick it up. And so the truck was located about 2 hours from my house. That's one of the reasons I really wasn't interested in driving all the way up there just to look at it. So I figured if I just go ahead and give the guy the money, I have no choice but to bring it back no matter what. I guess that's part of the fun in it. So the truck was pretty much as described. It has rust, it's got dents, bad looking, all those things. So I get up there, get it loaded, and drag it back to the house here in Indianapolis to start a new project.
Okay, we made it back. Let's have a look and see what we have. The truck is a 1979 Chevy C-10 half-ton. I imagine that originally it had a 305, 350 motor. It could have even had a inline 6-cylinder. It does have rust on it. The bed is beat up. Rocker cab corners are bad. You can see it has rust there. It's okay on the inside. Actually, the top of the rockers are in pretty good shape, and there's no carpet here, so you can see the floor pans. It looks like there was maybe a patch right there and a patch on the other side, but everything right here is pretty solid, so that's not bad. The other side of the truck is probably a little bit worse as far as the bed side. It has this nice little dent in it. It has some body filler that's flaking out from where it's got hit. I don't know what happened here. Somebody was doing something weird. Imagine that maybe where an emblem used to sit. But I mean, it's okay shape. It came with this Husky toolbox, so I might see if that'll fit into my truck, or I might just sell that and make all my money back. It does have this cowl hood. I thought this was just a fiberglass layover and was probably bonded in or something, but it's all steel. It does have a dent right in this area and one on the front, but you know, it's not so bad. We can deal with that. Maybe beat it out a little bit. Big block. Now, if we're going to the drag strip with this thing, there are a few essentials that we're going to need. The NHRA rules state that you have to have 2 springs on your throttle linkage. just in case one goes bad, you have a backup spring. They can be intertwined like inside of each other, but you have to have two of them. We only have one here. Let's see, we have a good solid metal fuel line, which the rules also state that you cannot have more than, I believe, 6 inches of rubber line on your fuel system. But down here where it comes from, the line from the tank to the fuel pump in, we have a lot of rubber line, and it looks like we have a small fuel leak right there. So this is a reason they don't want too much rubber line, because, you know, look, oh, I don't know if you can see that, but we got a little bit of a fuel leak right there. That's probably not good. So that's one of the things they look for when you go to the track. Definitely can't have any fuel leaking out. So I just got done doing the fuel line. The problem was they have 5/16 inch fuel line when it should be 3/8 inch. So what that does is it stretches the fuel line too far, and it bulges out the sidewalls of this. So after a while it gets cracked, and it's starting to spew fuel out of that hole, which could be a problem. The other thing is they're running a plastic fuel filter, this cheap, probably 50-cent fuel filter, in the engine compartment. You don't want to run your fuel filter inside your engine compartment, because this is a super cheap filter, and it won't take much for this to heat crack or get a little split in it from vibrations, and then you're spewing fuel all over the inside of your engine compartment, all over your motor, all over your headers, and that's how fire starts. If you're going to run a fuel filter, you can run it in line somewhere on the fuel line in the fuel rail. It's best to have fittings on it when you just bolt it together and it stays there. Those nice big metal can fittings are best, in my opinion. But yeah, this has got to go. So that's gone. Now let's look at a couple other things we have around here that I noticed. Let's see what else we have here. We have this water line that's blocked off. That would go to, I guess, this this heater hose that is just sitting here. So usually when you see a heater hose just laying there and it's blocked off, that oftentimes means that your heater core is no good. They don't even have the other line on there, so it's kind of hard to tell. Well, of course, your fan's not plugged in. We've got plenty of zip ties though, so always carry spare zip ties. You also have to have a catch can on your radiator, which we have that. We got plenty. I think it's what, 16, 18 ounces. I can't remember exactly, but we got way more than that, so we're good on the catch can. Now I don't know if this will pass tech, but I don't think they'll have a problem with this. These are relays that go to the electric fans they have hooked up there. You got rid of the clutch fan and put some electrics in here. That's a good upgrade, but they have speaker wire going to these relays, and they have these twist connectors that would normally be used in your house wiring, sealed up with some electrical tape, so I guess moisture doesn't get in there. I don't know what's going on there, but that is just awful. So yeah, definitely gonna have to do something with that. Don't use speaker cord in your electrical system unless it's on your stereo and it's going to your speakers. Another issue that we have in this area is you have to have a battery tie down. This battery has to be secured, so if you get in an accident or you get squirrely, it doesn't fly off and run into everything. So this is the factory tie down for the battery, which would be acceptable, but it doesn't do anything. It just sort of sits here, so I'm gonna have to fix that. They did put some nice spark plug wires on there. Those are really, really thick. And those aren't cheap either. You got some billet aluminum brackets here for the alternator and for the water pump for the power steering pump. Power steering pump appears to be new. You got a serpentine belt drive on your alternator, which is cool. Yeah, cruise control, don't know if that works. Now here's the biggest speed seeker right here. Anytime you go to the track and you want some performance, you take the air cleaner lid and flip it upside down, so all this area right here is exposed, and that's good for like 2, maybe 3 horsepower. So they did go through the trouble of getting a brand new rebuilt, I guess not rebuilt, but aftermarket, it looks like, Quadrajet style carburetor. Now these things are not cheap, even as an aftermarket. They're just about as much as a Holley carburetor, so I don't know why you would not go and just get the Holley, change the intake, and throw on there. But if I can get in close enough here, you can see that they have had to block off several ports because there's no vacuum lines for these exits, these vacuum tubes here. So just like the fuel line, this is starting to rot and decay, so we're getting vacuum leaks there, and this is cracked here, getting a vacuum leak there as well. Another thing, if you can see this this choke, it's doing absolutely nothing. This has not been started today, so it should have some pressure on it from the spring here. This is an electric choke, so when it warms up, it releases tension on the choke and starts to open up. But it should be right about in this position and have some tension on it, but there's absolutely nothing there, so that's going to have to be adjusted too. And the third thing that I noticed here is this distributor. Notice how far clocked it is. It's got the normal Chevy firing order 18436572. So normally your number 1 plug, which is here, would I like to see it here. Sometimes it winds up here, but this whole distributor, this tack and battery inlet here is usually at about the, what is that, the 3 o'clock position, 1 2 3, about the 3 o'clock position, and number 1 would normally be here. So if I was to turn this all the way back, number 1, and left it in this position, number 1 would be all the way over here, so that's 180 degrees out. So instead of just pulling the distributor, turning it and dropping it back in, they just moved number 1 over a little bit and clocked this as far as they could go, so it'd start and run. So there's that. But just add that to the list of things that just aren't quite right with this truck, but we're getting them ironed out one at a time. So there's the new fuel line, if you can see it. So that's straightened out. We're just on to the next thing. Let's see if we can give her a listen. that's about it on the tech stuff. I'll double check the rules, see if there's anything that I'm forgetting about. This truck should be ready to go if we do those few little things so we can pass tech and actually get into the track. So it's a couple weeks later now. I took the truck out for a couple test hits on the interstate and it started rod knocking. So I searched the old interwebs and I came out with another 454 short block. So looks like that's what we're gonna get ready to do now, and get this swapped out and start all over again.